Vulture is a book that doesn't shout, it seeps in. It's one of those novels that ambushes you with its honesty about what journalism really is when you strip away the mythology. Phoebe Greenwood has written something brutal, darkly funny, and painfully accurate about the industry of witnessing. Not the heroic story sold in memoirs, but the real one with all its hypocrisy, vanity, and hunger for spectacle. Her protagonist, Sarah, is a British freelancer sent to Gaza during Israel's 2012 war. The setting is familiar to anyone who has worked in or around conflict coverage. The morgues, the rubble, the press conferences, the scramble for quotes. But Greenwood isn't really writing about Gaza. She's writing about the moral corrosion of those who come to document Gaza. Sarah is ambitious but emptied out, someone whose empathy has hardened into performance. She can turn a corpse into copy before she has processed what she's looking at, and Greenwood has seen enough of this world to write it without flinching. The hotel that anchors the novel, a fictional beach hotel, is a perfect stage for this rot. Once a seaside playground, it's now a bunker for correspondents and aid workers who watch the war on TV while sipping drinks. They gossip about strikes, casualties, access to Hamas, and everyone knows they are complicit in something ugly, but no one says it. Greenwood doesn't exaggerate, and she doesn't need to. The absurdity is already baked into the profession. The title makes the point. The vulture is the journalist circling above the corpse, but it's also the profession itself, feeding on endless crisis. Greenwood doesn't moralize. She understands that guilt becomes another performance. What she exposes is a system built on consumption of suffering, where reporters convince themselves they are doing noble work while operating inside a machine that turns other people's pain into content. Nasser, Sarah's fixer, is the book's conscience and its most devastating figure. He's the one with real knowledge, real risk, real skin in the game, yet he's invisible in the final product. He's the ghostwriter of other people's courage. Greenwood shows the racial and political hierarchies beneath international reporting without sliding into cliché. Nasser is weary and principled and painfully aware that he's helping foreigners win awards, while his own life and the lives around him barely register outside the strip. The failure of representation runs through the novel. Sarah's dispatches are factually correct, but emotionally vacant. Her editors want blood, color, movement. They want a story they can package. The newsroom becomes a factory floor, where atrocity is processed into digestible pieces. Greenwood writes in a way that mirrors this rhythm, clipped wire-style sentences, followed by a sudden burst of lyric beauty. A dead child described with clinical bluntness, a Gaza sunset rendered like a hallucination. That swing between horror and banality feels exactly right, because it's how the job works. The gendered layer deepens the critique. Sarah moves through a world shaped by male colleagues, male editors, and male mythology of the heroic correspondent. She learns to mimic that posture for survival. Toughness becomes an act, irony becomes armor. Greenwood refuses to sentimentalize this. Sarah is both victim and participant, someone who has internalized the rules of a profession that never truly accepted her, and uses those rules to survive, even as they hollow her out. The London chapters expose another truth. The appetite for disaster doesn't belong only to journalists. It sits in living rooms, far away, flickering on televisions, wrapped in humanitarian language. Sarah's mother embodies that soft, comfortable voyeurism. The daughter's cynicism is professional, the mother's is recreational. Both are part of the same ecosystem that consumes suffering at a distance. Greenwood writes with the pace of someone who knows deadlines. The chapters feel filed under pressure, lean and tense. But she still finds space for tenderness. The fragile bond between Sarah and Nasser, the sadness of Mo, the hotel owner mourning a Gaza that might have existed once. The recurring crow from the Quranic epigraph that hangs over the book like a curse. Everyone here is burying someone, and none of them ever learn how. Calling Vulture a war novel misses the point. It's a novel about witnessing, about the ethics of looking. Greenwood uses fiction to show truth journalism can't reach, because fiction allows contradiction and moral collapse without needing to sanitize it. Sarah's slow unraveling is the novel's moral weight. She begins to see that she isn't clarifying anything, she's distorting it. Her stories become interchangeable with propaganda, and the realization doesn't redeem her, it just drains her. The war continues, the bylines continue, the cycle never breaks. Yet the novel isn't hopeless. Under the cynicism, there is a longing for a form of witnessing that isn't predatory, a way to look without feeding on what you see. Greenwood knows that objectivity is a myth, and empathy isn't enough. What remains is style, conscience, and the stubborn attempt to write anyway. Vulture captures the psychic toll of journalism without decorating it. It exposes a profession addicted to its own mythology. But it also finds flickers of grace, the solidarity between fixers and reporters, the rare moments where language honors the dead instead of consuming them. In the end, the book turns to the reader, the spectator, the one who clicks, watches, and moves on. Greenwood refuses to comfort. She reminds us that the industry of suffering exists because there is a market for it, and that market includes all of us. Vulture shows us how to bury the bodies, but it never lets us forget who keeps circling over them.